Module 1, we are going to cover climate change fundamentals. As we have already agreed, we will cover 4 goals throughout this 8 days. First goal will be that you will have a clear-cut understanding of climate change to drive impactful sustainability initiative by understanding international agreements and national ones too. Goal 2, of course, we will be giving you a mastery in GHG accounting to enhance organizational environmental performance wherever you work or you are doing consulting to them by calculating scope 1, 2, and 3 accurately with case study and example. Goal 3 is you will also learn mitigation strategy and actionable sector specific climate solutions. So it becomes a easier and agnostic, specifically it will be industry agnostic analysis, which you will learn specifically on mitigation strategy. And finally, goal 4, you will gain hands-on skill to lead climate reporting with a confidence by understanding, even carbon offsets and carbon credits. That's how 4 objective of this program is, which will be covered in 6 modules, which we have already discussed yesterday. What we are trying to cover yesterday, we started, and today we will try to conclude, will be goal 1 and 2. And the session coverage in the first module, you have to have a clear understanding of the fundamental principle of climate change, climate itself, basic of greenhouse gas effects and its gas sources, where it comes from. So we will cover this till today. Tomorrow, we will have a brief session on international climate agreements, right? Or if time permits, maybe I will try to cover today as well. We have already done first survey, so I will not going to do that. Of course, we have covered what is climate, what is weather, what is pollution, and how they differentiate to each other. Then we looked into the evidences, and we learned that there is a clear-cut evidence, even though people agree or do not agree. But science never speaks lie, and we are at the juncture where it is very important for us to pick it up and get our strategy right. Now, before I start, let's have a quick revision session. I will put in presentation mode so you can answer. I hope everybody is logged in. If not, in chat box, look into the screenshot. I'm sending it once again. You can either directly log into slido.com, or you can scan the QR code in the chat box, or even now it will be displayed on your picture. I can see 3 people have already logged in. Gaurang Bhargava is in, Kartikeyan is in, Mahesh J is in. Okay, so we'll wait for Bhaskar. Bhaskar ji also is in. Good. Sudhanshu is in. Quick 5 questions we have. Bharti is in as well. Okay. 5 questions just to get yourself up and running with the basic understanding which we have covered yesterday. I will wait for another 10 count to 0. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Let's start with the first question. What is climate change? Your answers should be quick, so you get the better marks. What is climate change? Okay, 2 more people. Perfect. Most of you have answered it's a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns, and that's the correct answer. Always remember that 3 basic fundamentals, right? One is the time and place. Weather has a smaller scale of time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, 10 hour, a day, a month. Climate has a long time period, which is even a decade or so. Decades, centuries, that's how you define. Place, of course, a smaller region, larger region. Those are the basics of climate and weather differences. Let's go for next question. Quick answer will help you to score better marks. Which of the following human activity is primary cause of modern climate change? Yeah, according to you, which one you think has most impact? Is it deforestation? Is it industrial farming? Is it burning of fossil fuel? And is it use of renewable energy sources? Limit yourself with the slides which we have discussed. Otherwise, you can answer anything based on your information. Okay, we will have a count of 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we will go for answer now. Okay, burning of fossil fuel is the correct answer. And most of you have correctly answered it. Which natural factor can contribute to climate change? Some factor in naturally occurring scenario also contributes to climate change. Which are those? Solar activity and volcanic eruption. Again, it is based on our session only. Deforestation and industrial farming. Is it a naturally occurring factor? Plastic pollution and chemical runoff. Is it a naturally occurring factor? And the last one, urbanization and industrialization. Is it a naturally occurring factor? So the answer, key to the answer is natural factor. Okay, we got everyone in. Let's go for the answer. Solar activity and volcanic, most of you have answered, and that's the correct answer. Yeah. Uh, Otherwise, all of them are not naturally occurring. They occur because of the human intervention. What is the primary evidence that supports the occurrence of climate change? What is the primary evidence which supports the occurrence of climate change? Is it increase in renewable energy uses? Is it a stable global temperature over the last century? Is it rising global temperature and melting ice caps? Or is it decreased level of greenhouse gases? Which one is the evidence which supports the occurrence of climate change? Okay, we have 5 seconds more. 5, 4. Okay, everybody answered. So let's go. Oh, everybody got it correct. Rising global temperature and melting ice caps. We detailed it in our previous slides. How does pollution contributes to climate change? Last question. Go ahead quickly. By directly cooling the Earth's surface, through the emission of greenhouse gases like CO2 and methane, by reducing amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, or through natural reforestation effort. Which one you think is a part of pollution first and it contributes to the climate change in turn? Okay, we'll go for answer now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is through the emission of greenhouse gases like CO2 and methane. And everybody of you got it correct. Uh, Out of 15 people, 5 people who are ranking on the top currently is Sudhanshu. Your answer were, all of them were correct. Megha, I think she has not attempted the first question, it looks like. But her answer propensity was much faster. And then Karthikeyan, Gaurang, and Bhaskar. Yeah, it's all about the timing. Good job done. Let's get the first concept clear first. What do you think about climate change first? So let me ask that question. What do you think is climate change first, according to you? Go ahead, everyone, give a try. Anyone who wants to try? Or we have just learned the definition, right?
Sir, variation from the expected weather, or you can say the expected change or weather. For example, if I'm expecting very high temperatures during, sorry, very low temperatures during January, but it's not that low, it's kind of climate change. My expectation on the basis of past
Past records. Yeah.
yeah, past records is that a temperature of say 10 degrees will be there during January, but instead of 10, the temperature is around 20, 15, 14. So this is deviation.
Absolutely correct. Means, of course, it is not a golden book, answer, but it is in that direction. But to understand climate change, first you have to understand a key phenomena which is linked to the climate change, and that is called greenhouse gas effect. Now, greenhouse gas, first let me tell you what is greenhouse. Okay. Greenhouse you must have seen in fields. Generally, a farmer puts a plastic shed, which is kind of on top, it is transparent and around it is green, right? That's why it is named as greenhouse. That's the part one. What is greenhouse effect? A greenhouse effect is once the sun ray passes through that greenhouse, it somehow gets trapped in that enclosure and increases the temperature, which is conducive for whatever farmer is trying to harvest there. However, when we talk about greenhouse gas effect, you have to understand like a person or a kid behind the scene is, wearing it. You have to relate with that. It's a kind of blanket around the earth which supports it to warm the temperature. Okay, which is good. By the way, this is a good greenhouse gas effect because you will not take a blanket to just for the purpose of increasing the temperature, but there is a purpose that you want to cut out the too much of coldness around you. And when we talk about in terms of planet Earth, there is a gases around our Earth which protects it. Just imagine that it is a kind of nature's thermal blanket. Okay, imagine Earth wrapped in a cozy blanket that keeps it warm enough for life to thrive. There is a history behind it. I'm not going to go into it. That why life has come on Earth and not any other planet. And the reason is simple. In one word, if somebody asks you, you can always tell them that because of this greenhouse gases around the Earth, which is a kind of cozy blanket, helps the life to thrive by increasing the temperature from negative 18 degree. Because if there is no greenhouse gases around the Earth, the temperature of Earth should be around negative 18 degrees Celsius. And it increases by 33 degrees Celsius because of this greenhouse gases, and Earth temperature around it is measured is 15 degrees Celsius. The blanket is made up of greenhouse gases. That's why these gases are very famous. And those are limited to six, which are bad. And we will learn about that in detail. But the critical ones which plays the major role is carbon dioxide. So you can understand how good is it. And methane. Both of them in limited quantity, like alcohol, is very good for health. And that is what people say. However, scientist has proven that also wrong now. Excess of that creates the problem, right? Including water vapor, atmosphere, aerosols. And we know there are several examples like Delhi, etc. How this process happens is very interesting one to understand. This is the process, and just let me explain to you how this works. So sunlight first arrives with a certain wavelength, which is a kind of shorter in nature, which is called light wavelength, right? I'm not going again into scientific part of it. There is a complete definition towards it. So sun sends this energy to Earth in a form of light with a shorter wavelength, right? And some of this energy, after striking the Earth, remits back, right? It reverses back, but exact word is remitting. Yeah. So there is a refraction happening here, a reflection happening here, which is little bit larger wavelength, which when it goes back, and then when it goes in larger wavelength, this carbon dioxide, one carbon, two oxygen, or CH4, four hydrogen around the carbon, traps this heat. While coming, it is shorter wavelength, so it cannot get trapped. But once it is remitting from the Earth, it gets trapped by these gases. They have a property to trap this gas. And most important one there is a carbon dioxide and methane along with water vapor atmosphere. It creates a conducive requirement. So the Earth, which radiates this heat back, increases the temperature. It warms the earth itself, right? And these are called infrared radiation or heat radiations. Yeah. And without greenhouse gases, this heat would escape in this space. And by the way, just to give you a context, our earth will be negative 18 degree. Why? Because space is minus 270 degrees. Minus 270 degrees. What will happen if earth has negative 18 degrees? The whole water body will be frozen to the extent there will be no life can survive in that water or in the ice form which will get created. Okay, so that is why trapped heat, which is a greenhouse gas, acts like a glass of the greenhouse, trapping some of this heat and reflecting it back toward the earth. Yeah, that keeps the planet warm and supports the life. Eventually, the problem is the greenhouse gas. Natural one is important. However, the human activity, like burning fossil fuel, is creating the negative aspect of it. And that's why human oriented one is what we are worried of, right? Mostly since 19th century, 17th and 18th and 19th century, means 1700, end of that, and 1800, when we started using coal for industrialization, steam engine, etc., we started burning carbon dioxide, emitting carbon dioxide, which was excessive. And we saw yesterday that has crossed and breached the normal cycle of carbon. Now, again, a quick question. According to you, just let me ask this question. Which greenhouse gas do you think is the most concerning, according to you? Which greenhouse gas? We have shown you the positive side of it and negative side of it. So which one you think is the most concerning? Go ahead, use the chat box or unmute yourself and let me know. Bhaskar ji, go ahead.
It's basically because the carbon dioxide is not only bad to the human, but it's also uh, it's ozone depleting potential is there in that.
So you believe carbon dioxide is the most
Yeah.
concerning greenhouse gas. Okay, let me tell you greenhouse gases which are human induced are. Of course, carbon dioxide is first, and then you have CH4, sometime through our activity, as well as animal activities, permafrost getting broken, that activity also releases methane gas. Then you have chlorofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, sulfur, SF6 is another one, NF3 is another one. So these are the one which we induce in the environment, right? So out of that, the most concerning ones are CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons or hydrofluorocarbons, okay? And why? Along with SF6, we will learn in GWP calculations, okay? Just wait for that. So let's understand different type of greenhouse gases. Again, the process has been shown in the scientific way. So sun radiates the solar radiation and earth re-radiates this heat called remitting in the atmosphere, where CH4 and gases traps it, naturally occurring. What happens apart from sun, we are also emitting gases, and that gases increases the volume in atmosphere. So you see there is a small thin line of greenhouse gases at the top, but on the right hand side, because of the human enhanced greenhouse gas effect, which is called EGHE effect, increases that redness in the atmosphere, and that creates the real problem. So water vapor, CO2, CH4, N2O, and ozone is a naturally occurring greenhouse gases. They are not bad for us. A problem is human generated ones, which is PFC, HFC, SF6, NF3, and CCl4. Now, carbon dioxide level have risen by 50% since industrial revolution. That's another problematic statistics, which is driving the climate change. Now, what is with all this Kyoto Protocol has to do? So Kyoto Protocol in 2005, they come up with a parameter where we recorded which gases we will be caring about most or considering in our calculation and understanding. So they came up with a list. Initially, this list was under Kyoto Protocol was only 6 numbers. So they have agreed with the gases which we will try to measure and record and try to minimize, and all policies should be built around that under Kyoto Protocol, which was a COP, Conference of Party, which happens every year. Basically, all nations sends their representative, including non-governmental organizations, goes there and participate and brood about and under UNFCCC that how we can control the climate change which is happening. So they agreed six gases, six key gases. There are several we saw, right? Naturally and human induced. They agreed that carbon dioxide definitely we along with methane, nitrous oxide, which is N2O, hydrofluorocarbons, which is HFCs, perfluorocarbon, which is PFCs, includes HFC, etc., CFCs, etc. And then you have a sulfur hexafluoride, SF6. These are the six they came up with, and they added later on one more, which we will learn now. And they put a target around it. They said that industrialized countries should reduce GHG emission by 5% below 1990 levels. They have not gone below in pre-industrial level, which is a major discussion in Paris Agreement. So when we will discuss Paris Agreement, we will talk about that. By 2008, 2012, this should happen. And that's why it failed, because the targets were too, unreasonable for certain developed countries, and they thought, why we should do anything? Why not annexure? Two people should do anything. There were annexures there, and they created which country should do it and which country can do it later. Of course, they put the monitoring arrangements there as well, that country will monitor this particular gases, and that's how carbon accounting picked up big time. By the way, it picked up because people understood that there is no way we can go without not recording it. In 2000, of course, GHG protocol also was there available for people to use and start reporting. So there is a history behind it. And that's why people started doing it, but it failed. They also created at the same time about carbon credits. A country which will do better will have a carbon credit reported, etc. But all that parameter has miserably failed. And there is a reading material which I have prepared and posted on LinkedIn. Please read that today evening. Post reading material of module 1 will be posted. One of the links will be that particular link, at how and why Kyoto Protocol failed miserably. What was the reason? Okay, look into that. Three groups were there: annexure 1, which was developed, annexure 2, transitional, and a non-annexure 1, which was developing countries. And this is what the major contentious point was, where the developed country didn't follow it completely. This was adopted in 1997 and came into force in 2005, superseded by, of course, Paris Agreement of 2016. This was the Paris Agreement, which was agreed under COP 21 in 2015. All of big, all us, Germany Chancellor, all these people are big people there on the photograph. They have all agreed in Paris Agreement to control the carbon emissions. And it was a landmark journey where the multilateral climate change processes has been adopted and accepted. And all nations came together, approximately 195 to 197 countries. Later on, two more countries agreed to combat the climate change and adopt its effect. What are the three key important part of it? Of course, we will go in detail of Paris Agreement, because this is one of the critical agreement which drives the nationally determined contributions. Yeah, which again requires countries to voluntarily record their initiative efforts, etc. Paris Agreement has set three clear pillars of COP21, which aims to limit the global warming, and these are the exact terminology which I am using, limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level. Yeah. So they have said that whatever pre-industrial level temperature of Earth was, we should not exceed 1.5 degree of that. And keep it well below 2 degrees Celsius. Well below is a critical word there. Below 2 degrees Celsius by establishing commitment by every country. Okay. So they said the first outcome that you should achieve a net zero emission by 2050, recommended by Paris Agreement. Uh, and then country has their own choice under nationally determined contribution and how to become net zero based on their stage of development. Second outcome, of course, was that we should have an enhanced resilience and adoption to climate impact with a certainty to occur. Now, third and the last one was that everything should align, including financial flow, in the work with these objectives, right? So, wealthier nation committed to fund poorer countries in adopting the climate change and transitioning to renewable energy. This was the commitment, and few of the countries are doing it, like Denmark, Finland, etc. You will see a lot of funds are coming here in India for biodiesel projects, uh, all that kind of stuff. And country agreed that they will report publicly on their progress in meeting the climate targets. Yeah, ensuring the accountability, recognize the differentiate responsibilities as well. That the few company can take little leverage. That's why India. What is the India net zero commitment? Anybody remember? When we want to become net zero?
2070.
2070.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2070 is the target we have set for ourselves. What about China? Anybody knows what is the China commitment?
2060.
Absolutely, 10 years earlier. But as I'm going to reiterate again, India may and can do it even in much before than the set target of 2070. Uh, Acknowledges that country have a different responsibility based on their effort, that we have to understand and realize. This is the COP Paris Agreement COP21. We will again take it once we will go into NDCs discussion. So let's go and understand what are the primary greenhouse gases and their origin. In today's discussion, let's start with the carbon dioxide. It's a vital component of the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, as you know, is released through natural processes, which is shown in left-hand side. You will see that. And like volcanic eruption happens, that also releases a lot of carbon dioxide, or through human activities such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation. As you cut the tree, you stop that process and the carbon dioxide increases because human emits the carbon dioxide and trees, etc. Acts as a sink to carbon dioxide. So another two terminology you should always remember. There is a emitter and there is a sink on planet, right? So sinks are forest, sea, ocean, all these are sink, which helps us to reduce the carbon emission all the time. That's how it balances, right? How the carbon dioxide over 800,000 years has balanced because of the availability of sinks. So even though we were crossing 200 particle per million, it used to come back because the natural process takes its own course and reverted it back. But now it's not happening. Even in 2022, 2023, the global GHG emission primarily consisted of CO2. So mostly, if you see, approximately 71.6% of the global GHG emission, which we are doing, 71.6% is carbon dioxide out of that, uh, which includes natural sources. So let's understand which are those natural sources. Volcanic outgassing is the primary one in natural, because once it happens, it really emitted a lot of carbon dioxide. Then forest fire, California forest fire is another case study. We should be knowing about it. It's changing. First, Australia forest fire, where a lot of pictures were floated all across media of koala, coming for rescue, asking for rescue. And then Colombia. And today we are finding Colombia is having more devastating story than even Australia one. So forest fire is another reason. It is again natural process. Sometimes it is human induced, and of course the culprit is we are increasing the temperature, and already temperature last COP29 has recorded that we have crossed 1.7 degrees Celsius of the pre-industrial level, a certain point in time on an average of on our Earth. So be conscious about that. And then comes the natural decay and aerobic, which is oxygen using organism respiration, which happens where they take oxygen and emits carbon dioxide, also is a factor in natural sources like human being. And then you have a human sources where we do it purposefully by just for the purpose of growth, right? We need growth, we need urbanization. So we burn fossil fuel, we in excess. We do creation of cement, and transportation if not for transportation. Heating is another cause, power generation, and land clearances. These are the major human sources which are emitting carbon dioxide. Remember that. Why? Because when we will go into accounting, all the sources which we need to understand and will be able to differentiate. Yeah. Of course, company has only few of it, not all of them. But a human as a carbon emitter, if you want to do your footprint calculation, how many of you have logged into Cool the Planet app? Have you checked your carbon emission, your carbon footprint? Anyone?
Yeah,
Didn't
I
try?
was checking. I was
Let's
checking. I did that. Downloaded the application also. But as per my lifestyle, certain points are missing. It's given generic thing,
okay, so
so I just stopped in between.
okay, okay. Yeah, it asks a lot of variable questions, Sudhanshu. So you are right.
Yeah.
Some people might not be aligned to that kind of stuff. In our document also, there is a two carbon calculator. One is carbon calculator FC, which can help organization even. It's a scientific based. And then there is a IIT based one, which I will share as well with you. IIT, our own country has developed, so they are more relevant to our lifestyle. So look into that. Why carbon dioxide is critical? Let's have a quick short 2 minute video. CO2. It's the and gas let me we know if it associate is with audible. Climate change, but it's also needed for life on Earth to function. Um, is it audible? Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
it
yes.
is.
Okay, fair. So I will rerun it just for the.
CO2. It's the gas we associate with climate change, but it's also needed for life on Earth to function normally. How our planet manages the levels of CO2 is called the carbon cycle. CO2 is released into the atmosphere, for example, by animals' respiration, forest fires, even agriculture. Plants reabsorb the CO2 through photosynthesis. But in the 1800s, that process started to change radically. It started with fossil fuels, sources of energy trapped deep underground from the fossilized remains of plants and animals. For the fuel to power everything from your car, to the furnace in your home or office building, to the plane you take on your next vacation. We owe the modern world to them.
We often describe Earth's atmosphere as a kind of invisible blanket sitting atop Earth's surface.
Matthew Osman is an assistant professor of climate science at the University of Cambridge. He says Earth's atmosphere naturally contains greenhouse gases that make life on Earth possible.
Exactly what we talked about.
Without CO2, life on Earth actually wouldn't be possible. It's estimated that without carbon dioxide, Earth's surface would be somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 35 degrees Celsius cooler than it is at present.
But when more CO2 gets released into the atmosphere through human activity, that's when things become problematic. Burning fossil fuel re-releases all the CO2 that was locked underground all those years ago. That CO2 gets lodged into the atmosphere. CO2 is a relatively simple molecule composed of one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen. When heat from the Earth's surface gets beamed back into space, it gets absorbed by the CO2 in the atmosphere. As the CO2 absorbs that energy, its molecules move faster and faster. And as they do, they transmit heat energy around to other molecules, causing them to move faster as well. That cycle repeats itself over and over, trapping heat energy and warming the planet in the process. All because of a naturally occurring molecule that's being emitted into our atmosphere at levels that have risen exponentially since the middle of the 20th century.
As we emit more and more CO2, we're going to warm the planet at a faster and faster rate,
fueling extreme weather and making life more expensive and challenging. Kamyar Razavi, Global News.
So with the credit of video to Global News, what we understood here is that CO2 is a critical element for our survival. Because of it, the temperature on Earth rises by 33 degree to 35 degree, from negative 18 degree to 15 degree, which is normal temperature of Earth. And it happens because it traps the heat and increases the activity in the molecule cycle. Now, second and most important gas is nitrous oxide. Now, nitrous oxide again happens because of the animals and harvesting which we do. Mostly, it is a naturally part of nitrogen cycle, which stays in atmosphere, but stays in atmosphere beyond 121 years. That's the problem. Yeah, so it keep adding that layer And this has 265 times more warming potential. And we will learn that what is warming potential, what is global warming potential or GWP. So one of that reason, NTO becomes nitrogen oxide. Even it comes through a natural a cycle, nitrogen cycle. It creates problem for us, mostly through the runoffs in sea. If you see the leaching process also emits through denitrification, nitrous oxide in the atmosphere. Urea or urine of animal, both of them gets absorbed in earth, and then through leaching and denitrification, it creates the nitrogen cycle. Now, again, here natural sources are denitrification, leaching, and N2 fixation. But human sources are more critical one, which we need to focus is again nitrification of our soil through putting a lot of urea there, urea itself, and then nitrogen fertilizer and effluent which our industry emits, right? These are the human sources which we need to be conscious about whenever we will do any kind of climate change activity or climate centric activity. Third important gas is, of course, now is second because it's growing very fast, is methane. CH4 has been considered in COP 19, COP 29, 28 as well, where methane was the central topic of discussion and people have debated on it because the growth here is really faster just after the carbon dioxide. So as you can see, there is a graph trying to show that methane is increasing and it has increased by 158% in last couple of years, right? This is a WMO data, World Meteorological Organization, or NAOO, again, US based meteorological society data. And they have shown this graph showing that in the greenhouse gases, methane is expanding faster. So we need to be careful about it. And reason is here 60% of the human activity is pushing that methane gas. What are those human activity? Fossil fuel again creates methane along with the carbon dioxide. Farming, because cow is known for farting with methane gas. Then, of course, rice paddies also emits the same along with the landfill. And then there is a natural sources like marshland emits the methane gas through algae, and termites also is known for that. And along with permafrost layer, sometime we break or when we do drilling, and specifically the horizontal drilling, which is called fracking, etc., also emits these gases prominently. Uh, so methane accounts for 16% earlier, and last 2-3 years we have seen the number has gone down to 18%, and it has 25 times more potential than carbon dioxide. So again, it has a more potential as such, and it remains in atmosphere. And this is a 100 years calculation which we are seeing here. So on the GWP, global warming potential, in that way you count all these gas impact on the atmosphere. Methane contributes to significantly to short-term global warming. That's why also it becomes very essential to address it fast and move on. And it shows more effect rapidly than the CO2. Again, natural sources are wetland, termites, ocean, permafrost. Human sources are fossil fuel production, agriculture, and landfill.
This paddy land, rice paddy, how it changes through the pesticides or
Through the pesticide, through as well as the water content which we require for it creates some kind of algae which releases again, same like marshland. Marshland also emits methane gas. And similarly, because paddy requires some marshland, right, to grow it up. And along with when you put a pesticide, as well as pesticides is least used just to burn the grass around it. That's why you use pesticide in paddy field, it is least. But the mostly the again fertilizers which we use also accelerate and catalyzes that process where it increases. Then comes the fluorinated gases. These are the last but not least very important gas. Why? We will see in the next slide when we will look into the global warming potential. So they have the highest global warming potential, all the fluorinated gases. you can name it. Uh, and they interacts with ozone layer very badly, specifically the HFCs. And there is a story around it. In 1980, once people realized, and because of that, uh, one of the institution got created. United Nations has formed World, Environmental Forum there. And what has happened there is one lady has been given a challenge to develop a report. Specifically, three critical problems were there at that point in time, which United Nations considered very important. And the topmost was the ozone layer depletion. Why it is happening, how we can control it. And that's how the first time sustainability as a word got coined. Do you know which was that book? Which is a kind of Bible for sustainability. First time sustainable development word as a word was recorded by United Nations in that book. Anybody remembers? By the way, in ESG investing, we talk about Who Cares Wins is a book which everybody talks about. Anybody knows? And what
Yes, yes. But I read it as a report. Who cares? With?
report? It is a part of United Nations report,
Yeah.
which was commissioned through Brundtland Commission. She was the one who led the team, Mrs. Brundtland, and she developed that document, right? That became the Bible for sustainability development. And since then, 1983, this commission was formed. 1987, they produced the report. And then Rio de Janeiro happened in 1992. So those were the history, of course, we learn in GRI sessions, etc. But point here is Global Reporting Initiative session, because that document gets our genesis there. As well as in investment banking, we will learn about the same. ESG investing, we'll learn about the same. So fluorinated gas mostly mainly by human made. And there were two companies which were involved behind it. And first time United Nations has negotiated with companies to stop emitting fluorinated gases. Do you know which are those two companies? If you know, put it in chat box. Otherwise, that's the assignment. You need to search. Very famous company, and till today they are really operating very fine. But they arm twisted United Nations and all the countries in order to stop specifically chlorofluorinated gases. Okay, so find out that and put it in chat box if you know. So mainly it is human made and they have the highest global warming potential. This is only human sources emitting gases, right? There are four main categories which you need to know. One is the HFCs, which is fluorinated gases called hydrofluorocarbons. Okay, somebody has answered, by the way, in the chat box. Yes, you're right, Sudhanshu. Anybody else want to try? Please go ahead. Hydrofluorocarbons, then you have perfluorocarbons, PFCs, that is the second category. And third category is carbon hexafluoride, which is SF6. And the final category is nitrogen trifluoride. These are the four critical gases which are fluorinated gases and we are responsible for emitting it. How we emit it? Very simple. Using air conditioner, we emit. Refrigerator use, refrigerations uses, we emit. Transmission and distribution of electricity also emits this kind of gases because transformers and the gas in transformers which get formed emits that. Semiconductor, LCD, aluminum industry is another three industry which also are responsible for these gases. They have global warming potential in excess of 1,000 GWPs, right? Global warming potential compared to carbon dioxide, and have a long atmospheric lifetime in some cases, yeah, lasting in thousands of years, 10,000 plus years. Certain gases, certain hydrofluorocarbons remains there, right? This is the very important topic in this session, the first part of it, which is warming potential. In simple term, you have to understand global warming potential is a measure. It's a metric. Like SI unit we have. For weight, we have kgs, right? For length, we have meter, SI unit. Similarly, in carbon accounting, you measure everything in terms of carbon dioxide equivalent. you measure everything in carbon accounting in terms of carbon dioxide equivalent. So carbon dioxide becomes the unit there. One dioxide, and it has a time period as well, that when how much measurement time is, right? So if you see carbon dioxide, 20 years, 100 years, and 500 years is the same one unit, because you measure everything of all the heat emission or heat capturing by all other gases, you measure in terms of global warming potential, that this particular gas has how much global warming potential in 20 years. So carbon dioxide has one. That's what has been assumed, was to create a unit. When I talk about methane in 20 year, it has, in the shortest period of time I explained you, right? Methane has the highest global warming potential to the extent more than carbon dioxide, which is 72 times. It is 72 times more heat global warming. It happens through the methane than the carbon dioxide. Am I clear here? If you go to measure up to 100 year, you will see it is around 25 times more lethal or more heat generating to the carbon dioxide. And if you go to 500 years, the impact reduces to 7 times more than the carbon dioxide. So you're seeing over a time period, it neutralizes. Nitrous oxide, 289 times in 20 year if you measure. If you measure 100 year, common measurement is 100 year. So people take 100 year carbon dioxide and check the other gases potential. Are you with me? What they do, they take the time period of 100 year, they take the carbon dioxide unit, and then they measure that how much all other gases are compared to the carbon dioxide, right? That comparison happen and you record that data as a global warming potential or GWP. In environment science, this is one of the critical term you need to know. And you see, as you go down in the table, you will find sulfur hexafluoride has a propensity to increase. This is the most ridiculous aspect. Hexafluoride, fluoroethane, and sulfur hexafluoride, both of them actually increases over a period of time. So they are more lethal. Why? Because even in 500 years, because they remain in atmosphere. Why they remain in atmosphere? DuPont story will tell you. Because DuPont, while doing innovation, created a chemical compound which is most stable in nature, in normal temperature. It's a most stable compound. Are you with me? And that was DuPont is the answer. Whoever doesn't know, there are two companies. Another one more company. Again, it's a Pent company. Okay, let me give you an idea. Another company is another Pent company. That's the second company. These two companies were the really negotiated and arm twisted, United Nation as a body. So that second company name also try to find it out. First is 3M or DuPont. They have done that. DuPont was there who embroiled in this because they created a stable structure while doing the chemical reaction. And that stable structure became so stable that even natural phenomena cannot decay it. Okay. And that is why hexafluoride and sulfur hexafluoride, hexafluoroethane and sulfur hexafluoride, both of them actually increases their global warming potential over a year. So it's like wine, more it will age, better taste it has. I don't drink, but that's how it works. Just a comparison. And they have the highest, sulfur hexafluoride has the highest global warming potential too. Yeah, so that's a major culprit. We should be careful. What is why people do not get so serious about it? There is a reason for that as well. Yeah. Before we go for a quick quiz, let me tell you, because the quantity on Earth right now, what we are emitting is very small. There is another story. There is a very good meme which you should search and watch on Instagram Reel and Shorts. It is very much available. Just few months back, people were really talking about it, where one of the European nation head was questioned by Senate. Yeah, A lady is sitting on the chair. Like you must have seen some of this kind of processes in US happens, where all the senator will sit and they will ask question to the corporate employees, and they will try to understand why they were unable to handle that situation, or how did they handle Sundar Pichai, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, all this were there. One time in this process, they have called the environmentalist, and he was the head of that environmental EPI. I believe it was EPI was the organization, not the European one. And she has been asked a question, and that's why it became a meme. The senator asked her that, are you aware that how much carbon dioxide is there in the environment? Now, this is the fifth standard question, right? We have learned that how much oxygen is there, how much nitrogen is there, how much carbon dioxide is there. This was the question asked by senator, and she actually got lost. First of all, she was surprised somebody will ask a fifth standard question, and she was trying to, I think she was trying, I'm not justifying her, but I don't know what has exactly happened there, but she was really uncomfortable, and maybe she is thinking what question is coming next to it. And she was asking to her assistant that, can you tell me what is that gas, what is that percentage? Anybody knows how what is that percentage, by the way, just for asking a question? Anybody, do you know that exactly how much is the carbon dioxide in atmosphere? Why? Anybody? No. Sudhanshu, and atmospheres, I'm not, look, the number you are giving, or Karthikeyan, you are giving a number. In atmosphere, they are not 70 or 72. Okay. They are in greenhouse gases, they control around 71.6%.
They're about 0.4.
Absolutely, Gaurang. It's 0.4%. And this was the next statement which senator made, and that's why it became a meme, right? That he asked, okay, you don't know, I will tell you, because he was asking to her, assistant. He told that this is the number 0.04%. Yeah, which is parts per million. If you see the number 461 is that number. Uh, so why we should be even bothering about it, right? It's such a minuscule amount. Carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide is the 100th part of the same. So why we should even care about greenhouse gases? And that is why it became meme, because that person, forget about that chief of EPA or European Union environmentalist being not knowing the number, but he himself doesn't understand. And I think he was a part of a Trump government, and that's why why Trump's supporters talks about it, and it became a meme. The reason is that he's thinking because it's not visible, it has no impact. Now, let me give you another anecdotal evidence. You are watching through any screen right now, right? The screen resolution is 9020 versus 720 or 1080, right? That's a normal screen resolution. If I will tell you that assume this screen as an atmosphere, carbon dioxide is only 8 dots out of it. It is only 8 dots, 8 pixel on your screen is carbon dioxide. It is literally invisible enemy which we are undermining right now, right? When we will go inside the carbon accounting, you will understand why it has given the prominence. Of course, I have run a video as well to make you realize the same. Let's go ahead and take a quick quiz. Again, go back to Slido, please. Let's go back to the Slido. Once my screen is visible, we will start the Q&A. Okay. It's showing everybody is in. Just confirm if you are in and you are able to see the screen. Rang, Bharti, Megha, Sudhanshu, Karthikeyan, and Mahesh. And Bhaskar. I believe all of you are in. Give me a thumbs up if you are in, and we can start the quiz without wasting time.
Yes.
Okay, one person is in. What about others? Bhaskar ji is in. Gaurang?
Yes, I'm in.
Okay. Karthikeyan is in. Mahesh is in.
But I'm also in.
Okay, Gaurang is in. Bharti, Sudhanshu, Sandeep, Megha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All of you, I believe, is in. So let's start. What is the key difference between weather and climate? Quick Q&A. with the based on standardization again. Which statement is true here? Quick, fast. All of you quick. Okay, I have 3 answers there. 4, 5. You have 5 seconds more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Select one answer, close the quiz. Okay, so the correct answer is weather refers to atmospheric condition over short period of time, while climate is all about long patterns. Next question. Which of the following contributes to most in modern climate change? We have already answered. Quickly select one. Yeah. Which activity is following contributes to modern climate change most? Methane emission from wetland and ocean, increase in agriculture activity, burning fossil fuel. It is not exactly same question, by the way, huh? Just let you know. Okay, so burning fossil fuel is the correct answer here. The previous question and this question, what's the difference? Anybody remember? Anybody who remembers the previous question
It
and this?
said natural. And
Yes, absolutely. Karthikeyan also got it correct. Good, Karthikeyan. Okay, so third question. What is the distinguished feature of greenhouse gases compared to atmospheric pollutant? What is a distinguishing feature of greenhouse gases compared to atmospheric pollutant? Okay, we will go ahead now. Okay. Karthikeyan is answering in the chat box. Good. Correct answer is B, which is greenhouse gases cause global effect like warming, and pollutants have a localized impact, right? That's a major difference there. What would Earth's average temperature be without the greenhouse effect? What will be the exact temperature of Earth without greenhouse gas effect? That this I have spoken, then video has spoken, everybody has spoken about it. Okay, I'm giving a chance to who could not answer. Go ahead and answer it now. Quick. Perfect. Okay, so minus 18 degrees is the correct answer. Sorry, this will be 10 questions. Okay, which of the following gases has the highest global warming potential? Now, what we have learned today, we are starting getting our hand dirty with that. Quick. Which of the following gases has the highest global warming potential? GWP. Absolutely. Everybody should get correct. Oh, somebody changed his answer even. Correct answer is sulfur hexafluoride, SF6. If you remember, it goes in 500 years, even 22,000 plus, right? This is the most lethal gas in the atmosphere. Sixth one. What was the primary focus of Kyoto Protocol? Primary focus of Kyoto Protocol. Did they get the commitment from all nations to achieve net zero by 2050? Binding emission reduction targets for industrialized countries, right? A non-binding agreement to limit emission globally, and a fund to support developing nation climate adoption. Which one is correct answer here? Okay, Karthikeyan ji, you need to watch the yesterday video. I believe you have not watched it. Yeah. Okay. So correct answer is binding emission reduction target. This was a binding document for industrialized countries, right? Annexure 1, if you remember. Which of the following best describe Paris Agreement? Now, of course, we have not gone in detail. We will go right after this discussion. So whoever doesn't have their fundamental clear, don't worry, we will clear that today. On Paris Agreement, we will go little more detail, little depth. We'll go to all their 7 aspects of their documentation. Okay. Last person. Which of the following best describe the Paris Agreement? Okay. An agreement to limit temperature rise to below 2 degrees Celsius with efforts toward 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's the correct answer. Most of you are right. Which statement about the carbon dioxide is correct? Which statement about carbon dioxide is correct? It has a shorter atmospheric lifetime than the methane. It accounts for majority of global house gas emissions. Its global warming potential is higher than nitrous oxide, or it is only produced by human activity. Only hydrofluorocarbons are only produced by human activities. Okay, that is the only gas, if you remember, is produced by only by human activity. Rest of them definitely has both sides, natural as well as human. Last person, okay. It accounts for majority of global GHG emission is the correct answer. 71.6%, right? 72%, whatever number you know. What was the major outcome of the Kyoto Protocol? All country committed to net zero. Industrialized country agreed to reduce emission by 5% below 1990 levels. Developing country pledged to reduce emission without financial aid, or it replaced Paris Agreement. Definitely D, I believe nobody will answer. I hope. Okay. Last person. More than accurate, you have to be faster to score better in this system. Absolutely. Industrialized countries agreed. The next year, 1 countries agreed that they will reduce the GHG emission by 5% after adoption by 2008. And that too pre-1990 levels. Why is CO2 considered critical in discussion of global warming potential? Why CO2 considered critical in discussion of global warming potential? It accounts for the largest share in global GHG emission. It has in global warming potential. Okay, we are talking about global warming. Why CO2 is considered that way? It has the highest global warming potential. We know that. No, it has a shorter atmospheric lifetime compared to other gases. We know that that is truth, but is that the reason it is critical in the global warming? It is the only greenhouse gas caused by the human activity. That also you know it, right? All of you quickly. Last person. 5, 4, 6. Okay. It accounts for the largest share of the global house emission. Sudhanshu retained its position with 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Most time taken. Megha did really well in the timing side. She did 12 correct. Because of one question she got wrong, I think her mark. Oh, that first one, which she could not attempt. Okay, good. And then Bharti, well done. You are picking up along with Gaurang and Bhaskar. Wonderful. I think Kartigen is doing in the chat box. That's why he has not been scored. Good stuff. Let's go for the second part of the discussion. Second part of the discussion, we are going to focus now conference of party. What we need to understand that what is there in conference of party, first of all, we need to understand. Okay. Any one of you, can you quickly tell me what is conference of party and what happens there? Just people go there to get the photographs, etc. What happens exactly there? Anybody has any idea? Megha, you must be having idea. Your whole team was there, ESG team, led by she's from West Bengal. Her name is, what is her name? I'm forgetting her name. She is in connection as well. Your whole team was there, isn't it? I hope you are not in office, yeah, because you are not unmuting.
No, my team, I mean, which
KPMG
I am
Delhi,
not sure.
KPMG
No,
Mumbai or Delhi?
I am not part of KPMG. I'm part of American Express.
Oh, you are MX. Okay, 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 okay. I thought you were KPMG. Okay, good. Okay, good. So anybody has any COP conference or party which happens? Okay, if no idea, then that is good. Of course, I know Karthik and Jays knows about it. Conference or party happens every year. It is a system where all parties comes together, all nation which are part of United Nations, they come together and debate about, discuss about, agree, disagree about climate action specifically, which is happening. And if it is happening, they agree to it. If they think it is not happening, they disagree. And America is that country, one of the developed country, which does all the time flip-flops, right? Sometime they will agree, sometime they will go against this discussion. Okay, so that is conference of party. Now, conference of party, of course, is convened by a body called United Nations, FCC. Anybody who knows UNFCC, we have Bharti, you must be knowing because we have done several times that discussion, specifically when we were talking about GRI, right?
Yeah.
So this is the body behind this initiative of United Nations. Is my screen visible? And there are 6 critical. Why the subtitle is coming? Just a minute. Hold on.
So this year COP29 meet, I think the developed country disagree to fund developing country. That's why, along with India, other countries walk out from the conference.
Correct. It's a
Is it?
very big, viral video of a United Nations representative from India. Her statement went very viral, and the reason was she declined to sign the fund. It's called uh, loss and L&D fund, right, which has been agreed by all countries. Is it L&D fund or is it a climate finance fund which they are creating, which is very small amount they have agreed, and they have not even considered the inflation. In 2005 itself, they have agreed to an amount which was 100 billions, and India was expecting 10 times of that number, and they have agreed only 2 times of that number. So inflation itself has grown much faster, and that was the reason. COP29 is happened in Baku, and COP30. Anybody knows where COP30 is going to happen? Put it in chat box. Now, apart from those, 29 is also very important now because there is an agreement at least to have a fund so that any damages underdeveloped countries having, they can seek that fund from the United Nations and get it without any loan arrangements like you have in IFC, etc. So it's a kind of pro bono exercise. And this was the fund which was decided even in Kyoto Protocol. So first COP happened in Berlin in 1995. Okay, that was the first protocol. In 1997, COP third, the third year of Conference of Party happened in 1997 in Kyoto, which became very famous because of the reasons which we have talked about, the climate credits, etc., made it very famous. Berlin one, of course, established the Berlin Mandate through which the Conference of Parties supposed to happen in the way it is happening today. It launched the talks of Conference of Parties, not only the governmental institution, but private institutions, non-governmental institutions, everybody was allowed. That's why they got a intellectual class coming in play, and they started discussing about the same. Uh, for making some commitments so that whole world is safe. Somebody has already answered in the chat box. Yes, Brazil is the country, Sudhanshu, where COP30 is going to happen, Conference of Party. Then Kyoto Protocol adopted and set the binding emission reduction. First time binding came through Kyoto. Unfortunately, it failed. And it failed. There are reasons to it, which of course we will send you the link. If you have time, 2 minutes, you can read that. COP15 is another famous one. So after COP3, and people knew that Kyoto Protocol is not impactful, you can understand the influence. Next 12 year, no major agreement happened. Coming Copenhagen, COP Copenhagen in 2009, again a important decision was taken related to introducing 2 degrees Celsius limit. First time it was talked about, not in COP21 where actual agreement happened, but it will have discussion started in COP15, right? It is called Copenhagen Accord, which is non-binding. That's why it is accord. Kyoto Protocol is a protocol. Why? Because people have done the agreement. So that's the difference between Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol Agreement, and Accord, which happened in Copenhagen, where people said that it is non-binding, but everybody should try to, limit their emission by 2 degrees Celsius pre-industrial level and try to focus on 1.5. Because it was non-binding, it is called Accord. And people realize after Accord 2009, nobody was following that as well. People were BAU business, and then comes the Paris Agreement. Okay, adopted the Paris Agreement in 2015. This is the fourth COP, which has a huge importance. It's a game changer as well. Why? We will just see in the next few slides. And of course, here the agreement was signed that all countries will try to do it. They will do it through NDCs. So NDCs got introduced, which is nationally determined contribution, because a lot of countries still didn't want to get binded by it, right? Like developing countries like China, India, all they were there. So that is why it is a legally binding framework for climate action. COP26 was another important one, happened in UK, Glasgow in 2021, where they agreed Glasgow Climate Pact, right? There they introduced, global methane pledge. In 2021, actually, the pledge has come. And now you see the impact in. Then was 27 also has important. Anybody knows why Sharm el Sheikh, COP Sharm el Sheikh is important? Apart from creating a Sharm el Sheikh adoption agenda. Achha, anybody knows when Modi ji's taken a pledge of 2070? After this, by the way, COP28 happened in Dubai. That was also having a lot of prominence. But of course, there was no agreement, because that what has happened, what is the most important fact of Dubai was first time on the COP history, the players which are lobbyists who came, it's allowed for everyone, right? So the lobbyist numbers were double of the actual commitment makers numbers. First time it happened in Dubai, right? And now, because oil and gas companies representatives and people who have a vested interest with protecting their industry were there lobbying. So in top COP28, that was the major problem. 2022 is important. Anybody have idea? Any idea? Sudhanshu, you are quite updated. So do you have any idea? When did Modi ji came into play?
In 2022 only, right?
Absolutely.
So
India took the place for 2017. Perfect. Purpose of COP. Before we go and discuss the critical COP, which is Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol, etc., you need to know there is a 5-point plan for Conference of Party, specifically related to nationally determined contribution. Now, United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, which is UNFCCC triple C in the short, uh, has established that recently. That going forward, we will always talk about how to enhance NDCs so that the commitment remain intact, right? So COP serves as a crucial function. They have three critical functions they serve for. First is review implementation of the convention. The first thing is every year they come, they agree, disagree, but they definitely review which country has done what kind of effort. This is their responsibility, right? Second discussion which happens in COP is they assess the national communication. So they record each country's version of their emission inventory, that how much this country has done. And that's why we have nowadays more accurate carbon emission numbers, which is exceeding around 50 billion tons every year. We are exceeding that. But net, it is around 36.1 billion tons emission coming from human activity. And the third one, which COP serves as a critical function under UNFCCC, is they make decision and to promote the effective implementation. So they help. This discussions also helps in collaboration, that any company needs a technical know-how, etc. It is their responsibility to enable it. And that's a major problem right now. The technology transfer is very slow, specifically on CDAC side, the DAC side, which is equipment which are required for carbon reduction, right? The technological aspect of it. US is giving very costly these equipments, and one of another article which you guys should read is article on um, steel factories and cement factories. Uh, sorry, thermal power plants, right? NTPC specifically requires all thermal power plants require a SOx reduction device. Okay, there is a big fiasco where India has retrenched back from their commitment to buy from a US based company. That each equipment was costing so much per ton basis that it is better to buy a carbon dioxide, carbon credit than put that device and reduce the SOx, right? That was another debate of 2024, very hot debate in environmental science, that they are really selling at the price where developing nation cannot even buy it, right? So we took a lot of inventory and then we canceled the order. As a government as a whole, we decided that we should cancel that SOx devices from USA. So that's another challenge which COP should uh, serve as a mediator, should
Mediator.
enable that. So that's the point. So you are aware about this, Bhaskar right? This
Yeah.
discussion of SOx and NOx. Yeah, you are from that industry, isn't it? Fire and safety
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
So that was a major trouble there. So it has its global impact, which translates into international climate agreements and national targets. It drives the social and economic changes for zero carbon future. Uh, this is the global impact of COP. It also contributes to achieving longer term climate and development priorities. But it also have a lot of challenges because UN as a body itself has become very weak. I have just given you example since 90, 80 people are arm twisting. Anyway, developed countries always arm twisted, United Nations from Gulf War to etc. Everybody knows about it. That is a political aspect of UN getting diluted. But even in technical terms, they do not hold that power any longer. And that's why they have this challenge. No longer they can bring legally binding proceedings. Even India have declined. That's why it became such a viral video, and with a very strong point. Why we should agree to something where we think we have been pushed in the corner, right? And eventually we have to manage that fund. We have to use that fund. Many NDC have conditional components, so nationally determined contribution has a lot of components and which are conditional in nature, specifically for developing countries. They are not agreeing in toto all this agreement. And then the aligning NDCs with a long-term strategy is a crucial aspect which is currently missing in hardcore implementation. That's why this 5-point plan for next generation NDC was brought in play in 20 after Paris Agreement. This has been adopted as well, that every 5 year you will try to revive it, because there is a stock take every 5 year after Paris Agreement. You have a first time it will happen in 10 years. So 2025 is the first year where a stock take will really take place. And then every 5 year it will happen. And there they will try to follow these 5 programs up to 35. They want to set the target till 2035, revise in 2030 if people are not agreeing to those kind of plan, like carbon intensity reduction by India is going to happen by 45% by 2030 itself. So if it doesn't happen, it will get revised. So these kind of nationally determined contribution. People, you are understanding NDC. I'm using the term very frequently. If you do not understand, let me know. I will explain to you what is NDC. It's very simple term. However, I have given the
Yes,
context of,
please.
yeah, okay. So because I was giving the context, I thought you will understand. But nationally determined contribution is very simple term. Why? Because this is the term which gives the flexibility of every country to adopt themselves based on their targets. For example, uh, Microsoft, you know, right? By 2030, they will become carbon negative, not neutral, carbon negative. Okay. So they will be definitely net zero, and they will also try to recover all the carbon they have emitted since their inception. So that is the point. Nationally determined contribution is a nationally determined direction. Of course, we have a chapter to it. There is one section around half an hour discussion we are going to do only on NDC and how it impacts the carbon credit. Okay, and that is why carbon credit of India is cheaper. One of the reason, of course, it's not the major reason. Do you have any idea what is the carbon pricing in India on an average?
Sir, Microsoft I think buys it around $24 to $25.
Right. But actually, because they are buying it through the international mechanism under Article 6, 6.2, international mechanism makes it 24. But actual price in India is how much? Anybody has any idea?
Sir, around $2 to $3.
Yes, $2 to $10. That's the maximum and minimum.
But can an international company can buy carbon from India?
Sorry?
International companies like
Yes,
Microsoft
yes,
can buy.
absolutely.
Is it
That is the article which has been now reinforced in COP29 again, where they have
okay?
cleared that international rule. Okay, we will discuss about it at the last session,
Okay.
detail how it happens, what are the mechanism to do it, right? So that is why all international firms comes to India and buy it and take it there. Because why? In US, the price is how much, you know?
Yes.
If American Express has to buy it, they will buy in US in
Mhm.
excess of $100.
Okay.
In Europe, it is $120,
So
right?
because
That's why, sorry,
sorry,
go ahead, Sudhanshu.
why I asked this question because I was looking to a documentary where U.S. organizations bought carbons from Chinese companies, and when there is an investigation happens, these
That is a, yeah,
the
there is a big, by the way, there is a
mafia.
big conspiracy,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That's another thing which is happening. So greenwashing through Chinese companies happening. There is another episode which just 2 days ago has come. I'm unable to recall it right now, but I will bring in discussion that also when we will go to carbon credit. Carbon credit is the most fragile area. That's why in COP29 it became a centerpiece. Okay. For the international transaction, there is a system which was not efficiently and effectively working because tracing back is a difficult issue. So VCS, there are two companies which Gold Standard and VCS. These are the two companies which verifies this data, right? And they are the world leader in verification. And they have been also embroiled in this conspiracy. So we will discuss that. Of course, this one will have a brief discussion on the same. Paris Agreement, of course, one of the most landmark decision, which limits 1.5 degree, 2 degree maximum, and 1.5 degrees should be focus. It has following 6 provisions which are critical to understand and know. First of all, temperature. By 2100, they count we will be carbon negative. So our nature will come back. That's the assumption there, right? So if and only if we go to net zero by 2050, then only when nature will reclaim. How many of you have observed in COVID situation? Specifically, I am in Bangalore, so I have seen all wild animals were there in the city. Matlab, you peacock, you name it. The some of the extinct wild animals were there in the Koromangla in Bangalore. Yeah, they were roaming in the COVID when there was a complete shutdown. So nature reclaims itself, and there are not only one. How many of you have observed this fact? Yeah, when we were not going on the roads, it was reclaimed by natural habitats. This is the reason we say nature recuperates itself if we give them a chance, give her a chance, right? We count as a female, right? Planet, Prithvi, Earth. So my point here is this Kartikeyanji, you must have learned that news, right? The cheetahs and you are from Bangalore, so I'm asking you, and you live in that area, Indranagar and all, right?
Leopards enter into apartments and roaming
Leopard,
around in
absolutely. Leopards
Arjapura
again.
and
Now they are used to roads and houses, so they come regularly. They were in the Mysore Infosys, premises. They could
right.
not come even. Yeah, so
Recently, Infosys premises is very famous with the Naren Murthy's proposal of 70 hours. There is a leopard roaming around there.
yeah, and he's also worried now. There is a meme on that as well, where he's sitting on a desk and is staring at the computer, not his wife on the computer, and doesn't know what to do next. Okay. Very good debate, by the way. I love that debate. And day before yesterday, even Mahindra has came into foray and put another twist to it. So point here is the first is temperature, which we need to control, and nature will recuperate itself by 2100. We will have a better planet. Financing, of course, by 2025, there was a target. We should have this financing done. Last 2024, we agreed, but this target was Kyoto Protocol 2005 target. Okay, that rich country must provide 100 billions of dollar from 2020 to 2025 as a floor. Okay, it was agreed as a floor. What has been agreed now in COP 29? 200 or 300 billion, right? That's the exact number I'm not recalling right now. And that too now 35. They are saying 2030 to 35 we will bring that cash. And $300 million dollars. It's the extra 200 billion is what they are committing. It's nothing. We have already surpassed that number just by inflation. So amount to be updated by 25, they committed, never happened. Then a specialization, of course, developed country must continue to take the lead in reduction of the greenhouse gases. They have put that because they wanted to preserve the Kyoto Protocol. So that clause they put it, but of course, it has been given a different twist. Emission goals 2050, they want every country to go for net zero. That should be the aim. Because of NDCs and country has their own issues, all of the country has different kind of targets. A burden sharing, developed country must provide financial resource. Again, it was re-emphasized on their fifth argument, and sixth argument, review mechanism every 10 years. First 10 years and then every 5 years, you should have a stock take event happening. So a global stock take is scheduled every 5 years going forward since 2025, which will assess the process and encourage the ambition of that country. And here comes the role of carbon market, which we have already discussed briefly. So I will again take you a little further more. Article 6 in Paris Agreement is one of the most important article, which enables a mechanism for international carbon market. That's why international company can come and buy from farmers. When you buy from farmers, then you even go to $10, right? Not $24, which Gaurang is saying, $24. Of course, in process, middlemen are making money.
So,
So
sorry to stop, but just I'm very curious about this. Who like to buy from a farmer or a person who
farmer need
holds?
to get certificate
Okay.
on their land when they do the harvesting, and if the harvesting complies with carbon emission requirements, land use, LULUCF is a word which is used for land use, and it has been brought in now in even in a GHG protocol. We will learn about that tomorrow onwards. That land use also have a carbon negative factor in it. So when you are not using carbon intensive method of farming, as a farm acts as a sink. Okay, when it acts as a sink, you can have a certificate saying that, look, this much of carbon emission, my property per acre of land is approximately $10. That's the number in Karnataka farmers are getting right now. Per acres, I can additionally generate $10. I'm doing work for biofuel company, setting up a biofuel company in UP government. Two of those firms I'm working with. They also, the moment they will start production of biofuel, they will start getting the credit, carbon credit, just by producing biofuel, because one is they are taking the acid oil or the sludge or the used oil, right, and converting into fossil fuel at half of the price, automatically that half is you are saving, right? So that's the, of course, IOCL will buy at 100, but they will get the credit on that $50, 50 rupees which they are paying extra. So that's how it works. Now, of course, there is a mechanism to set how to calculate it, what kind of farming it is, what kind of land use it is. Is it used for throughout the year? Is it used for seasonal purposes? All that is recorded. And then you need to get it certified. There are certification bodies in India, including trading. Now we have a very famous private trading house, which is EKI Energy based out of Indore. They have another story, which in between we will talk about that as well in one of the sessions. Uh, that how that company became such a large company, 1,000-time growth. It's a multi-bragger in itself, etc., etc. Now here Article 6, which is international carbon market, is critical element which all trade emission, reduction targets people are setting. Look, in carbon accounting, when we will do, I'm giving you a little upper hand and jumping few classes, but telling you once you will do the scope 1 and 2 and 3 calculation, you will know that there is unavoidable carbon dioxide emission. Specifically, when we will go to the Microsoft case study, we will see that there is a green line which doesn't reduces. You do whatever you want to do, that will be there. Once that come into play, even net zero allows you to do carbon credit or carbon trading. You can buy carbon trading and still you can become net zero, not carbon neutral. Because the moment you buy or offset, you are becoming carbon neutral, right? But if you do it for unavoidable carbon emission, we will see why it is happening in the case study. You need to buy, right? And that emission buying is required, and that can only happen through the Paris Agreement number 6, COP29. Again, there is a decision on COP29, 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8. These three clauses. In last lecture, we will discuss about the same, right? This is a market-based approach. Correct? Yeah, somebody has another question?
Yeah, I have a question on that.
Okay.
This carbon credit works only on the farmers or agricultural land, or it works on the waste management companies who
Absolutely. Any company which has a sink kind of infrastructure, or they are into cap and trade mechanism. Even cement industry, if they have deployed, or steel industry, if they have deployed reduction of carbon emission, they have technology and there are technology available. If they do that, they have a allowance of certain number and they will only consume part of it. Rest of it they can sell in the market, right? That is why I'm saying, give me 5 more days. You understand first the how to calculate the carbon. Once you understand, then we will go and discuss that part. Then it will become 30-minute work. Otherwise, I have to explain hours and hours. Okay. Cap and trade mechanism, etc. I need to, you will ask me one question and I will take you another 10 new concept, which you might get confused with, which I don't want for people who are not coming from that background. So it incentivizes, this process incentivizes cost effective mitigation. So when we will do the carbon mitigation exercise, we will understand that cost is a major part there. Otherwise, everybody will put CCUS unit, right? Carbon capturing unit. Okay, let me emit as much as I want and I will put a carbon emission unit if I'm rich. Are you with me? But the cost is exorbitantly so high that it is better not to carbon emit than buy that equipment and try to suck that carbon dioxide. CCUS unit, or DAC, we say in the short. Okay, now if you see Paris Agreement implementation in process, why this implementation 4 step is important for you to understand is that this creates a conducive environment for me to introduce you nationally determined contributions. And also it becomes a chain so that you can link everything together. That how agreement created a NDC and how NDC is helping countries to achieve their target. Being here and there, they are not that difficult for them to follow it and agree to it. So global stock take, as you know, every 10 years should happen. And it also happened, means every year when they come, they also take a record and review of the country initiative. In COP28, December 2023, they did that. They understood that we need to increase and accelerate the situation because a lot of countries are missing their targets. Then comes the long-term strategy. Paris Agreement has set an environment for a long-term strategy setup, and it helps in framing efforts towards Paris Agreement. And of course, Paris Agreement has a long-term goal of 2050, 2030 first, and then 2050. So StockTech laid the decision to accelerate the action on mitigation. Adoption also came into play, right? Not only mitigation will help, we need to also adopt ourselves to certain climate event, right? And finance by 2030. So we should achieve that target by 2030, and then we should aspire for net zero in 2050. So transition from fossil fuel is another target, which was the NDC. Yeah, nationally determined contribution. Now, if you see NDC, this is one graph which even in mitigation you will use it. When you will do the presentation, you will try to map out your company initiative to go net zero through this graph. This is a scientific based targets initiative graph. All companies nowadays are adopting in their net zero ambitions. And it also gets applied to countries, right? When country commits to net zero, they decide based on their capability and their stage of development. And here they can choose their their pathways. These are the lines which you are seeing after red line is a pathway they want to follow. So somebody wants to follow a different scenario, 1.5 degrees Celsius with no limited overshoot. Somebody can follow that, and somebody can follow, no, I want to go to 2 degrees Celsius right now, and slowly I will see how I'm developing. Country also adopt the same, right? So that is there is a historical carbon emission, and then they want to reduce it to net zero by 2050 if you are following. So NDCs are the cornerstone of Paris Agreement. You have to understand that very clearly. Why? Because it gives a flexibility for each country based on their specific requirement. They can put their emission reduction, and it gets updated every 5 years, right? So each country develops its own climate action plan based on its capability, outlining how it will reduce emissions and adopt the climate change. NDCs are updated every 5 years with a country expected to increase their ambition and accelerate. Basically, they want to accelerate the process. This is a flexible approach. First of all, another pointer for NDC you should remember is a flexible approach which accommodates the national circumstances while pushing for a collective progress toward global goal. And that's why in 2018, adoption of Paris rule book came in after 2015 event when everybody signed. 2018 onward, facilitative dialogue has started on the same grounds, nationally determined contribution ground, where Secretary General of Climate Change, Secretary General Climate Summit in 2019 had agreed that 2020 will be the first year where every country should communicate their NDCs. 2023, first global stocktake has happened as a review, and 2025, they want to communicate to all stakeholders what exactly, where are they in the progress to net zero emission and climate resilience. 2028 will be the next one. Global stock will happen and get communicated in 2030. So every 5 years, there is a communication requirement. And as you see, another 5-year difference, you have to produce your report. So this actually encourages the increasing emissions.
So this year there will be a communication on the
Communication happened last year, 2023. This year, stock take happened in 2023. This year, 2025, in Brazil, they will share the exact number, which country is where in their process of.
So now the question for me, how a country will determine their carbon situation as per the data. So the data, if I go and see to different Niti Aayog or some other portal, it doesn't satisfy me. It seems that it's not correct what is happening in different part of the country. How they will,
So,
any idea?
of course, we have some idea. Look, there is a top-down way of policy making and there is a bottom-up of policy making. India right now is in hybrid mode. There is a top-down requirement on policies where the government has already introduced two policies. What I will do, I will share another article where we have listed all the initiative which we have taken to strengthen the carbon market. Because Sudhanshu, you have that question on carbon market and it relates to NDC as well, okay? Because it is linked there. So for India context, I have developed an article where I have listed all the regulation which we recently did. In 2023, India has gone very aggressive on policy making to set a certain parameter so that we can collect the data because we have got lamented in 2023 by General Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of UN, has said that most of the country has failed to achieve their targets, right? And he reiterated it again in COP29 in his statement that we have missed the target. We have already around 1.8 degrees Celsius now, above pre-industrial level. And how that data is getting collected, as I told you, top down and bottom up. Bottom up means what? Every organization provides this data. And then top down is one where you can do it through the GDP sides of the operation. Because each industry has a specific kind of emission factor, which we will learn in day 4 or day 5, that how you should use emission factor. Based on that, you can do the top down a calculation as well, which you are not satisfied with, right? That is why in 2023, they have said that now enough is enough. We do not want to just record reasonable data. We want accurate data. So they brought 3 specific policy because that is required for carbon trade as well. Till the time country has such kind of policy, you cannot measure the carbon trade impact and its real value. Yeah. So I will share that article with you. Have a read at it. I don't want to confuse others, but your questions are mostly on that idea. So I will give you that where
Yes, I just wanted to say why I'm asking. I belongs to a place in India. I mean, I'm from Odisha, so I belongs to Chhattisgarh, Andhra, and the Odisha border area, and it's completely greenery with multiple mining opportunity. So we
Right.
have Nalco, HL, other companies. Now we have the NMDC. Okay,
Right.
they have the power plant and thermal,
Correct.
I mean, a steel plant. That
Right.
changed the entire atmosphere. And due to urbanization, then jungle, so the forests are decreasing. So I'm just worried by this, how the balance is going to.
Yeah, that's the problem actually. Development brings that menace, and now that menace is too much because people immediately are feeling. Means I was in Raipur just couple of weeks back, 2 3 days. Of course, it's still untouched. Means I really loved. I was on the outskirt of Raipur. Spent some days. There is a botanical garden, right? Very beautiful botanical garden with
Yeah,
tiger and etc. So it's untouched. So mornings are really very nice.
right,
And you won't believe in 3 days, I really got refreshed, right? Completely. And in Bangalore anyway, we were suffering with a lot of rains, etc. So it was my escape from Bangalore weather. Weather is still is very good, but as you said, Bhilai steel plant and
right,
is
yeah,
polluting too much. So daytime it becomes ridiculous.
right. Yeah. If
You
you
will
go
sweat
to
like you are on a border, you are on the coastal area,
boiler,
it's like
yeah,
that. So, and I checked that, and they said that this is a recent event. Even though the Bhilai steel is very old steel plant, but recently it has gone to bust. There's all other minings are eroding those
that's
forest
right.
area, and it's a challenge. And you are right, that challenge requires an iron hand. And
Yeah.
so I was
If you walked on Vilai, steel plant, then probably you know the another steel plant they created in near to Chhattisgarh Odisha border. Okay, Jagdalpur, the place name. It's a
Yeah.
very bigger one and
Yes.
advanced one they created.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's better to have a Naxals rather than have a industrials because
Yes.
they kills from the both side. So anyway, again, Bastar, I heard yesterday news day before that there was 8 security men died. I do not
Right.
support
Yeah.
that. I do not support Marxism, etc. But nature-wise, I think we are doing some injustice. We need to be really pragmatic about it. We should be conscious. We cannot compromise our development. We definitely need development for that. If there is a requirement to excavate, mine, you should do it. But at the same time, as per Green Tribunal Council of India,
Right.
we should do the double of the forestation when you
Right. That's not happening.
and
That's
that is
my
because of
worry,
the
the
corruption.
biggest worries.
That is the
That's not
corruption.
happening.
That is the
So, and
corruption.
there is no data.
No,
There is
that is
no
the
data.
corruption. I will be honest. I'm on the media right now, and I'm honest. That is because of the corruption, right? Otherwise, regulations are right. Now, when you will come to national regulation, then the scope for corrupt equally reduces. All the people who have seen corruption, they know how the corruption can be controlled. Because you cannot compromise on the carbon credit numbers. The CBAM in 2026, that's why we are bringing an additional program, mostly in February, on CBAM and CSRD reporting. CBAM is going to be a nastier stuff for a country like India. China is anyway adjusting itself. They are very smart, right? They have already done and doing enough. And they have been put in corner because of their EV cell, which has grown exponentially in Europe. And they have been limited with 30% now, 18 to 30% of duty already. So that industry is already suffering. You can't sell a Chinese EV in that country. So China is smart. They started setting up the plants in that country, in Europe now. So Europe is happy because they are getting the dollar. So my point is China will pick up. India will still suffer in 2026, at least for first few years. Till the time really government and Sitaramanji just by shouting at Europe and thinking that our best speaker, foreign secretary can help us there, she is really at wrong footing. We need to buckle up. I know closely that European CBAM is going to be cruncher. The financial industry is already feeling about it. SBI, etc., is pushing their investment so that their investment doesn't get compromised. Means they are stopping cement factory in public
Right.
companies are stopping now funding to cement factories expansion, and you will be surprised to know there are several cement factories are going to come up very soon. So my point is because one of the big family is coming into cement. Okay, I cannot disclose the name, but just letting you know. So there is a cruncher which is coming, and once that cruncher will come, even though corruption is happening, it has to compromise because international people will not accept anything you sell them on basis of not having a ground, right? And already there are several exposure you just cited in China where the corruption has happened and people have played with the carbon credit. Quickly, now these are the 8 critical action items in NDC. First is the mitigation target. Every country has to have their own mitigation target, which they can set up based on the two formula, 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius. It has to be below that. Engagement, you have to include cities, regions, etc. So that is the bottom up. That's why smart city concept came in. Top 100 cities were really appreciated, like Indore got the first position, etc. So that developed the robust and implementation targets becomes easier because government also gets the data in hand. So this is another way to collect the data, right? You are with me? This is how they are doing it bottom up. Then they brought maximizing the impact. How you can do that? By aligning and integrating sustainable carbon transportation methods, etc. Then ASI, these are the 3 key words, which is avoid, shift, and improve is the target which any NDC should reflect that how they are avoiding carbon emission, what shifting energy transition they are doing, like and NTPC, etc., is going from not only bringing coal-fired power plant, but also they are shifting to nuclear. That is why our foreign minister is behind getting us out of US blacklist. US has signed 22 years ago nuclear peace agreement with us. They allowed us to develop the peace civilian nuclear power plants, but they are not allowing the companies because India said that I need a security behind it. Means I need the company which comes and put the power plant because Fukushima happened. So India said that look, the company which is developing the technology and bringing it in India, they should be responsible for anything going wrong. And that was the point where US protected their company and didn't allow our companies to get whitelisted there so they can do joint venture, bring that technology. And secondly, they also didn't allow their own company to go there and invest in India with this kind of non-protection. So that was ASI, right? Avoid, shift, energy transition, and improve the strategy so that every year the NDC improves. Then you have finance and investment. You have to create a fund. That's why you have subsidies on EVs, etc., etc. Just build it up, right? Um, Planning and tool. Every country has to have their urban transportation and land use planning and policy in a way that it protects and it reduces the carbon emission. Adoption, you must have heard that it's a case study we have discussed, Bharti ji, if you remember, in GRI as well, that Seven Sister has really got badly impacted by flash flood last year, 2023-24, and there was several discoms went for bankruptcy. Even the insurance company were jolted. This is another story which everybody should refer. Of course, we cover into our GRI program. Electrification is another area because that's a major culprit where we are still relying on coal power fired power plants. So accelerated electrification of buses, cars, shifting to EV is what is promoted through NDCs. And then freight, the cargoes, the transport is the another major emitter in transport segment that is also being targeted, and aviation and marine, right? Because the jet fuel is the another large contributor to this area. Now, finance climate commitment is a critical factor of NDC, and that is why we want people to invest. Funding clean energy transition was one of the commitment under Paris Agreement that we will do that through multi development banks. This money will come. $100 billion per year was supposed to come from 20 to 25. It never came. We are expecting that happens from 30 to 35 for the purpose of clean energy transition. That's why India is not agreeing. India is saying by that time I will be more, I will be 50%, 500 gigawatts we will be generating from renewable energy. Then I do not require your support and fund at that point in time. Yeah, but this fund is important. And that 2021 data I'm showing you, only 51 billion was available through MDBs, which is 62% of overall MDB's climate funding. It supports the mitigation and adoption and focus on most vulnerable nation. Here also they give the priority to African countries most, and that becomes a challenging stuff for developing countries, which requires transition faster than them because they are still little more greener than you. So of course they need support, but the country which are getting like Hanoi, etc., or you go to Malaysia, etc., they are getting tsunamis and all that on regular basis. Though they are getting most impacted. Odisha, all coastal region, AP, even Calcutta this time got a really bad weather in month of November. You must be recalling there was a big tsunami was supposed to come and hit the land. So assessing climate risk becomes the focus of this whole initiative. And to do that, you have four pillars to measure it: vulnerability assessment, risk analysis, scenario planning, and monitoring evaluation. These are the critical terms used in NDC. Adoption fund and purpose of that fund is very simple, that we cannot control flash flood, we cannot control tsunamis, we cannot control rising sea level. We have to adopt against it. And for that, we need certain funds, which should come from the MDBs or by adoption fund creation itself. And that's why first time L&D funds was requested in COP28 and it got approved as well. But again, instead of giving the right money, US committed $800 million. And that was a time of Biden, not even Trump. Trump is going to withdraw that 800 million, not billion even, not 1 billion, million that was committed under loss and development funds. Then a country like India has allowed 2% levy on the sale of certified emission reduction, SCERs. There is a 2% levy which you can charge it on this behalf. From tomorrow, if we can restrict session for, okay, we are exceeding 2 minutes more. Fair, we will do that. I have fair, not a problem. Because we discussed, that's why it is exceeding. This is the last slide, don't worry. We never exceed 2.5 hours. So be ready for some day, half an hour extra. But mostly it is 2 hours or 1.5 hours. Challenges and future of the Paris agreements remains. There is a portion which is red. Global warming projected to exceed Paris target. There will be a time where we will peak, and that peak we are worried of. Yeah, why? Because there is a climate finance gap. There need to be stronger national commitments, and there is essential for global climate action, which NDC should bring it in. And that is why Paris Agreement has been changed. With that, we come to end of NDC, nationally determined contribution as well. And from tomorrow, we will start GHG protocol. So the material which will go to you will be one link today of the article, which has been two links. If nobody wants, I will not share and bore you with what are the Indian regulation around carbon accounting that you should not read right now. We will get only one link of one of the article which we have published, and you will get a reading material of GHG protocol, which you might not be reading immediately. Reading will be required before scope 3. So once I will cover the scope 1 and 2, I want you to read that, and but I will give you that document. Yeah, and I hope everybody got the template right today. I believe Gaurang, you must have also got the template for
Sir, I
GHG.
got it, but I had a word with Sandeep, sir. He will approve it. Sir,
Achha,
can you share the document that you just mentioned, Indian government
okay, fine.
regulation?
If you want, I will share with you. There is a detailed article and a summary as well. Both I will share with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
the links
with
are
me,
very
please also.
Yes,
fair,
sir.
fair.
Will like to have.
Okay, fair. Whoever, then I will put it. I will send it to all. Yeah, who doesn't
Thank
need
you.
it, just don't read it. I don't want to get confused. Whoever is worried about getting confused, don't read it. You will definitely get confused. Okay. Otherwise, for information, it's a good article to read. With that, we come to end. So thank you very much. I exceeded 5 minutes, but uh, I believe we cannot stop the questioning. If you don't ask question, I believe learning is not happening. Any question I always welcome, and that's why these boot camps are customized to address everybody's individual problem and individual question. We'll try to keep this at the end so other people who has a time limitation, they can move on. But if there are certain small question comes in between, I cannot avoid that. And that actually, if you have a question, I believe in a pedagogy where you should ask it right away. Because the moment question comes, our mind frontal cortex work in a way, the moment you have a subconscious mind ask a question, your learning stops there. Okay, that's why you ask that question, get out of your system that question, and then go ahead and learn the new concept. Otherwise, you will never learn. And this I have learned through scientific researches and discussions. Yeah, sitting with people like who have developed our courses like Michael Katz and all. We have understood this. So I allow questions, please ask it, but limit it. Don't ask too deep because some people have time restrictions as well. Thank you very much for coming in today. We will see you tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock sharp. And with that, we will start. And any question you have, please join 5 minutes early. I will allow you. Okay. From tomorrow onwards, I will allow 5 minutes early and half an hour later of the class. Bharti knows that most of our class goes little longer. And the reason is the question answering. We allow the question answering, which is essential for learning. Fair? Any question?